before you watch this video, I want you to know that a woman named something Goodman, Gina Goodman something, she posted a very similar dream from the same night. And also on the same day that I had this dream about an alien invasion, the channel God Rules, he also posted an excellent video talking about all of the prophetic warnings about an alien invasion. And so I'm going to link to both of those. Geneva Goodman is the other channel. Now, into the video. So last night I received a dream. It's an interesting dream. It follows a group of men in the mountains. It starts off with they arrive at a kind of a camp. If you've ever been to like a Christian retreat, it was exactly like one of these, except this one seemed to be more spread out than usual. And so the next morning they're having breakfast together, and this one young man tells the others, he said, "Hey, I had a dream last night." And they said, "Well, what was it?" He said, and then he starts to tell a series of events. But two of the events are, he says, and then there was a rain, and then there was hail, and then there was an alien invasion. And so the other people at the breakfast table say, well, okay, that's interesting, right? So there are kind of three echelons of men here. There are some adults, and there are some young men. They might be 17 or 20. And then there are some very young boys. And I don't really see the young boys in the dream. I don't know why, but the dream just doesn't really show them. But it's apparent that they are there. Some of these young men return to a group of 4 buildings that are kind of arranged in a square so that each one forms a side, but there's a lot of open space between the buildings. The young boys start to tell this story. They said, I was there. One of the boys is telling this story. He's saying, one of the youth was saying, Jeff, hey, Jeff. And I was saying, what? But he wouldn't respond when I said what. And then finally, when another Jeff said, what do you want? He said, hey, would you lift me up and put me on this low roof, right? So this other Jeff did it. And so the Jeff who's telling the story, he's a shorter guy, and he walks over, and on these buildings, there's like an eave, like one that you sometimes see coming off of a wall, more like almost like a canopy that's just covering a window, protecting it from the direct sunlight. So, and it looks like it has Spanish tile on it. But he stands there and he looks off into the distance like some explorer on the bow of a ship, right? A pose in profile. And it's kind of funny, and the people are laughing. They're like, there's that scene. And then they come and they're seated in a circle, some on stools, some they might be sitting on cut logs or something. It's not really clear. But they're sitting there, and they're talking about different things that they might do, and they're talking about different things about the church and about the Bible. Then a light rain starts, so they go and they stand under these low eaves while the rain passes. Then they come back out and sit down, and now a hail starts. And it's just small hail. It's not biblical Revelations size hail. It's just little small bits of hail, and they're kind of cloudy in the middle, and they're kind of clear around the side. Definitely smaller than an M&M. Not real big hail. This hail comes, then they come back out, and they're sitting there talking. Then after a while, this kid Jeff, he says, hey, he said, it just rained, and then it hailed. He said, I think that this might be the fulfillment of Pat's dream that he told at breakfast this morning. The other men said, well, yeah, maybe, but, And right then, he thinks to look up. And he looks up, and he sees the sun is starting to break through the clouds above him. But then he realizes that the sun is rising in the morning, and it's situated behind him. So he looks back up at this bright orange and red light, and right then the clouds start to break, and a lot of light starts to radiate through these clouds. It's orange and it's red, and he's looking at it, and he points up, and he tells the others, he said, and there's some kind of lights in the sky. And everyone looks up, and right as they look up, the clouds part much wider, and you just see this huge column of spaceships just coming down in a long arc, coming down through the sky, and they all just stare at it. And as they're coming in, a few red lines shoot out from a couple of these ships and shoot at something. And as I see this in the dream, I realize that whatever they're shooting is too small to see. If it's a satellite or a defensive aircraft from planet Earth, whatever it is. So that means that by scale, these things are very large. They're quite large. And I realize that even though they're visible, they may not even be yet in the ionosphere. Like, these things are really high up. And they're all glowing red. It's a very strange thing. They emanate a lot of light. These things are radiating red. They're like glowing red. And they're maybe like 6, 7 across in the front. And it seems like with each successive rank that they're tighter and tighter packed. And so it seems to narrow back. It's almost like a reverse wedge formation. The young man who identified these things, he says, hey, we need a plan. We have to get out of here. He said, in Pat's dream, didn't he say that the ships came down? Well, what are they going to do? They're going to destroy the cities for sure. He says, what are we going to do? And they all look at the adults, and the adults are just sitting there open-mouthed. I kind of hear this young man's thoughts, and he looks at the man, and he realizes, in his own mind, this guy has to make a decision that accounts for all those children. And he can't simply run, and that's what we need to do. So he looks at the other young men. He says, we're running back to the cabins. We're grabbing as much as we can carry, and we're going to find a place to ride this thing out. We can't return to the city. And they quickly agree with him. Yes, that's what we're going to do. And they start running through these woods, and they're running as fast as they can go. And I hear the thoughts of this one young man who just made this speech to his friends, his equals, and he's thinking, man, I need to stop, and I need to send an SMS to my mother. I got to send her a text. But at the same time, a calmer part of his mind is saying, everyone can see this. What's in the sky, everyone sees it. In the city, they see it. You don't have a special vantage point here in the mountains. They can see it in the city. And so he's running back, and then he starts to think, but if I don't see it, maybe God will be angry with me. I mean, if I don't send an SMS, maybe God will be angry with me that I didn't consider my mother. So he's contemplating this, and that's kind of the end of that scene. So I never really see these aircraft attack anything or anything. That was the dream, a dream about an alien invasion. This is not the first type of dream I've seen about aliens, and yes, I understand that they are demons, and now there's a lot of talk about, they're interdimensional people, because it just became a kind of a joke how many years ago they're saying, these things, they're going to come from Mars, and then found out Mars is desolate. They're going to come from the moon. First it was the moon, then Mars, and then as more and more they find that these planets are desolate, they say, it's coming now. Now it's interdimensional beings, right? But really, they're demons. There was one more scene in the dream. Some men in the night decide, we need to prevent the enemy from coming from below the ground. And so I see two figures go out in the night, and they lay themselves on these two doors that they're kind of set at an angle into the ground, almost into a hillside. It looks more like maybe a tornado basement, right? That you might go out into, or a cellar. And they lay on these doors, but during the night, you hear this loud boom. And when the sun comes up, you see there's this kind of a barrel of a cannon, and it's broken. There's a piece broken out of the side of this barrel, but it's a really wide bore cannon. And this guy who had been laying there is gone. And then the second figure moves and stands up, and then I see that it's a dog. I had kind of thought it was two men, but now I see it's just a dog. And so this man had walked out in the night thinking he was going to prevent something, and he didn't. And then there's a voice comes and explains to me, says, these people realized that there was a threat from one place, and they addressed it, but they didn't realize that there was a threat from another place, and they didn't address it. And I think that this dream is saying that we need to pray against a threat from the air, right? Because they'll probably leave from the earth, go out somewhere, and then return visibly. It seems clear that these craft have the ability to defy radar, to defy the visible eye, right? The naked eye. So they're going to go out unseen and then return with a great display, gaining a lot of attention, right? Hey, look, here we are. We're coming from outer space. And so now instead of saying, we're coming from the Pleiades or something, they're going to say, we whatever, transmogrified from, another dimensional vibration or something, right? Some kind of ludicrous stuff, the kind of stuff that they're, front-loading people's minds with in movies and children in cartoons and things. And I think we can predict how this is going to go. There will be some aliens that will come. They're going to be the quote-unquote bad aliens, and then there are going to be some good aliens. Why do I think that? Because That's the format that they put in all the movies. Transformers movie has that. Cowboys versus Aliens has that. Almost everyone has it. There's a cartoon that I saw. It was called Batman versus Superman. How do they win out? They go and get some aliens to help them. All these movies seem to have portals, right? So again, they're coming through another dimension, right? They're transferring interdimensionally, or they're crossing space and time from somewhere too far away to even understand through a portal. This Marvel universe, these people are doing the same kind of thing. So this is the kind of ideas that they're putting into people's mind. So when they see something they can't fully understand, they're going to have some thoughts in their head that their mind is going to grab onto and say, well, this is probably what's happening, right? And then they're going to want these good aliens. And they don't realize that their mind is formatted to look for those good aliens. Well, who are the good aliens? And then what's going to happen? Well, just like in Transformers, those aliens are going to want to stay and live on the earth with humans. So there will be demons just walking around down the street. And of course, just like everybody's been formatted, and they're too stupid to understand that they've been pre-formatted to think this way. Anyone who's against the aliens, those are the jerkwads, right? Because, in Transformers movies, what happens? There's some guy who's the leader of the military, and he's against the Transformers, and he's the one who puts everyone at risk because he's against the Transformers, right? And so the bad guy is always against the demons, slash Transformers slash good aliens, the helper aliens, whatever, right? So if I come out saying, hey, all aliens are bad aliens, well, then I'm some kind of a ludicrous bigot. I mean, isn't even the Vatican saying that a demon can be saved? I'm sorry, an alien can be saved, right? So they're brainwashing people to think this way and that. But we're being warned, and we're being encouraged to pray against this, whatever's coming through the air, and to pray against whatever might come up from the earth. We need to close those doors, close those portals. They have people praying to open doors in heaven and open portals. And people don't realize that they're doing witchcraft prayers right in the church. They don't understand what they're doing. We need to pray. The real Christians, wise Christians, those of us who are seeking God more than other things, we need to pray and bind all those things up, because our Father in heaven, He will send His angels. And our trust is in Him, and it needs to remain in Him. And this is the man from Modesto reminding you as always to pray or be defeated.